Oh, what's it called? Lake St. Clair smallmouth llama.
Body barely hooked too.
Netty. Boom! Look at this thing, dude. Look at that.
That's a seven.
Giant. What's up, guys? Welcome back to So In Outdoors. It is late February and we are doing a little pond fishing, pond hopping. Oh, there's a deer over there. We're going to go to the lake this afternoon after Hunter got out of school, but the wind was pretty rough and it's a little bit chilly. So we thought maybe we would just run out and see if we can't catch a few in the pond. Got a couple new baits I want to test out and see if we can't catch a couple.
So anyway, it's late February. Right now I'm throwing hog stalker jig. Check out our Facebook page. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, So In Outdoors. Got many different color jigs, chatterbaits, terminal tackle stuff, and got it all. I got 48%. Okay. Yeah. So, throwing jig and throwing a chatterbait. See if we can get one here.
Oh man, there's 3 or 4 big bass out there. Out in the middle. They're all suspended up high. Yep. Almost need a wacky rig. Several good ones. Look at them. Bunch of bass right out here, suspended just right under the surface. And a lot of bluegill are too. And we're fishing baits kind of on the bottom. Yeah, y'all don't get to see that bait. That's a little sneaky one that nobody gets to see that one just yet. Yeah, I can't show that bait. Not yet. That's something we're working on. Pretty fish. Nice one. 14, 15 inch bass. Not bad, not bad. There he goes. Do it again. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for taking the time to click on the video. As always, we greatly appreciate your viewership. So if you're not a subscriber, please take the time to hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. Helps make our videos more viewable through the algorithm. However that works, I don't know. I just know that likes, comments help us out, and as always, subscribe. So the little clip you just saw was a little bit of pond fishing that me and Hunter did about 3 or 4 days ago, and I guess it was right before the weekend. And it dawned on me, I never really do a whole lot of pond fishing stuff. And of course, you know, we get caught up with taking the boat out and going to the local lakes and traveling around to some of the lakes a little farther away as well. But we fish in ponds quite a bit, and it dawned on me a lot of my viewers may fish in ponds quite often. And I wanted to kind of touch base on some of my favorite baits to use in the late winter, early spring in the ponds, which is one of my favorite times to fish the pond because those fish haven't had any pressure all winter long, and the water's starting to warm up. Those fish are getting a little bit more aggressive, and normally when you hit the weather just right and you have good water conditions in the pond, you can catch a lot of fish if it's stocked well and has some decent fish in it. The pond we were fishing has been on a decline for the last few years, so we're not getting a lot of good growth. I think the pond was overpopulated at one point. That stunted the fish's growth, just didn't have the forage there. Now there's a ton of bluegill. We're starting to see the fish get a little bit bigger, but we haven't seen the numbers increase yet. So rule number one for fishing ponds in the wintertime, as you saw in the video, good watercolor, good water quality. We want that water to be pretty clean this time of year when it's colder. If you get one of those bright sunny days like we did leading up to the evening we were fishing, a lot of those bass were sunning themselves just under the surface. You could look out in the middle of the pond and see groups of 5 or 6 bass all kind of huddled together in one area and just warming up. The water temperature was starting to warm up on the surface, and it pulled those fish all the way to the top. Now, when the water starts to warm, you're gonna get a lot of that nasty old slimy algae growth on the bottom. And that's one negative to fishing ponds or small lakes, small bodies of water, is you do get a lot of that green slimy algae growth. So I traditionally do not fish a lot of baits this time of year that are going to be making a lot of bottom contact. I don't mind fishing a bait on the bottom if it's a little lighter bait. So that is one of the keys for me, is if I'm going to fish on the bottom, I like to downsize my bait. So whenever I'm throwing, say, a jig, this is a 3/8 ounce, I'll step this down to a 1/4 ounce. I like our Hog Stalker River Runt jig, which is just kind of like a little finesse jig, and it's great in ponds. Got a real sharp hook in it, a little bit smaller profile, lighter wire hook, great pond and small lake and even creek jig. Love that thing. Now I will fish it on the bottom, but I'm going to hop it quite a bit. I'm not going to do a lot of dragging because I just don't want to get that bait covered in that muck and that slime. Keeping that bait clean is key to getting bites. So a jig is one of my favorites. That's going to be a go-to for me. Now, if I'm going to fish something moving, which I always do, I'll have a couple rods with me, one rigged up to fish on the bottom and another one to fish up higher in the water column. And then I'm going to go to our Hog Stalker Rumble Pig, just a bladed jig. This is a white and chartreuse color. I've got another one here in Firecracker, great dirty watercolor. But in the cleaner water, I'm going to go with probably more of a white and chartreuse, and just kind of keeping that mid-water column. And that can be really good as the water warms up and those fish get a little bit more aggressive. One that I use quite a bit is Ned Rig. This is just an 1/8 ounce Ned Rig that we make here. It's got the wire keeper on it. One thing about a Ned Rig is, for me to use one, it's got to have that wire keeper in there. I've seen a lot of companies, theirs just has just the hook shank. That wire keeper keeps that plastic from really pulling down, but a Ned Rig. But what I like to do with the Ned Rig is I like to rig it with a FFS, I think it's right, FFS Yum minnow, little Jason Christie design minnow, and I will just rig it just like you would anything on a Ned Rig. Rig that bad boy on there, And the reason I like to rig this one, so if I fish this to the bottom, I go down to an 1/8 ounce there again, because I don't want a heavy bait that's going to be down in that muck and getting all that slime all over my bait. So I want to rig one that's a little bit lighter weight, so it just kind of hops up off the bottom. It's not really dredging a lot into the bottom. Now the reason I like to rig this is if those fish are just under the surface, then I can throw this out there and I can fish my rod tip really high and keep that tip up and slow reel it, and I can kind of twitch the rod tip a little bit, and I can get that bait to kind of dart around just underneath the surface and fish it more like a swim bait. Even though it just has a straight tail on it, whenever you twitch that rod, you get a lot of that little kicking action out of that tail. It's very subtle, but it catches fish. So it's almost like a Damiki rig, but it's actually on a Ned head, so you can fish it down on the bottom if you wanted to. And then my all-time favorite late winter, early spring pond fishing bait, is just a great all-around bait, and it there again keeps the bait up off the bottom, is good old drop shot. Now I myself am not a drop shot connoisseur. I do know that I fish a leader a lot longer than probably a lot of guys do. I like about 12 inches, but really just in a pond, I will cut this down to just about a 6 to 8 inch leader to my weight. Just use a standard round drop shot weight. This one here is I believe this one is just an 1/8 ounce. And you can nose hook it or you can Texpose it. I like to Texpose it depending upon what I'm using, but this is just a 4-inch robo worm in Morning Dawn, and I will just Texpose it. Now I like a straight shank, just light wire hook. I don't like to use a heavy hook. I don't like to use a wide gap hook. I'm really wanting to get that hook point up above this line tie so that I don't have to put a lot of pressure to collapse that plastic down and penetrate that fish. But a drop shot keeps your bait clean, keeps it up off the bottom, gets you a lot of bites. So as far as what to fish in the pond, it's just like going to any body of water. If you've got a little cover in the pond, a little habitat, those fish are going to relate to that cover. Get those sunny days, they're going to get up, suspend just underneath the surface. Those are my go-tos for really the month of February and the month of March. And then as we get into April, we're going to speed things up a little bit. So we are getting close, guys, getting close to things breaking through. The weather's been good the last few days here in the Midwest. And we're hoping here in a couple weeks we can start slinging some over the side of the boat. So thanks for tuning in, y'all. We will see you guys on the next one.